When I was growing up, I was always really into games. I played computer games. I used to go down to the local arcade and work for quarters just so I could play games for free and whatnot. But it never really occurred to me that I could make a living making games. Getting a job at a game company, and something kind of clicked. I went, oh wait, you mean something I've really been into as a hobby all these years can be something that I could do creatively, and that was pretty exciting. I
had drawn and written since I was a little kid and knew I wanted to be in the creative arts in some way. Randomly, many years ago, I got an opportunity to apply here at Blizzard. At the time we were called Chaos Studios. I didn't even know what the company did, and I walked in and apparently it was video games, and it was just amazing plays.
In the age of chaos, two factions battled for dominance. Welcome to the World of Warcraft.
I kind of activated on Warcraft as Warcraft 2 got underway, right as the internet's really kind of getting its feet under it, and we're playing LAN games, and it was just a really explosive time for that genre.
We're ready, Master. I'm not ready. I'm building ship.
The gameplay, if you will, definitely came first. There was a game system to develop. This kind of turn-based, hyper-dynamic chess type system, and the guys knew that they wanted to do like a medieval fantasy universe. All the kind of world kit that began to spring up around those mechanical ideas really created a very different kind of product for us, and it began to take on a personality that, when we began, we didn't really anticipate. Informed as much by our artists, unique visual design as it was by kind of our unique humor, our tribal humor. And these guys not only looked kind of cool and they were hyper proportionate with their big giant weapons, but they were funny. They would say really off the wall things, and that fusion, amidst all of those components really, I don't know, gave Warcraft a really interesting start, that I think has served us really well down the line, throughout the history of the franchise.
I started a few years after Chris. I started in 1997, and it was during Starcraft development. So I'd been at a couple other game companies previous to Blizzard. And when I was back at Interplay Productions, which is where I first started, was when I first started playing the Warcraft games, both Orcs and Humans and Warcraft 2. And I kind of got a reputation around the studio for being really good at both those games, and ended up being really great getting to come to Blizzard and working on Starcraft, because I was really passionate about real-time strategy games and felt like I had a lot of ideas and things that could be used to make them better.
It was interesting as we began working on Starcraft. We knew we wanted to do another RTS game. The studio was, becoming known for that, becoming a pretty solid shop for RTS design. But we didn't want to do fantasy again. We wanted to do something radical with aliens and ray guns. We had done Starcraft as a 2D art pass, kind of like Warcraft 2, and it was using 2D sprites, traditionally animated. And we did a couple builds of that, and I think we took it to E3 one year. CES one year, yeah. And it looked terrible, right? Like people were just like, "What are you doing? It's Warcraft in space.
Orcs in space.
Orcs in space. Are you guys on crack?" And we came back to the office a little, maybe a little crestfallen, and it was right around the time where we started experimenting with kind of 3D rendered models. So we developed like the Goliath or the Space Marine in 3D. So you had the benefit of like the kind of dynamic lighting. The look wound up working really well. Suddenly, Starcraft, the environments and the units took on a much more photorealistic look, and suddenly it started really finding its feet against the Warcraft's past, and it looked like a much more contemporary game, and if not a game that was actually pushing the visual boundaries of what we were seeing in RTS at the time.
So I think one of the things that we did that really broke the mold was, we're going to give you a more directed gameplay experience. There was kind of this myth at the time that MMOs, weren't like single-player games. You don't do those sorts of experiences with an MMO, and we put that in there. And then when we started playing that, we knew it was going to be really sticky. So we saw the people around the office that had kind of said, "Oh, I'm not in MMOs; they're not for me," and they'd play that experience and go, "Wow, this is really compelling and really exciting, and I really like playing it."
I remember that first week or the first couple days that it went live, and none of us really knew what to expect. Like many of us had played, Ultima or EverQuest, and we were used to the feel of a morgue and people running around, people running by. Oh, that's another player. And I remember specifically sitting in Ironforge at the time, and the city was packed. There's people running around everywhere, and it was just weird to stand there and effectively read and or listen just to all these people experiencing this virtual space at the same time. And I just had this feeling like, oh, there's no going back now. This is the new frontier, and we had best hold on tightly.
Diablo is very different than how we do stuff in like World of Warcraft. Diablo's what we call very procedural content. So it has randomized items, it has randomized monsters, even has randomized dungeons. And this is all towards the effort of making the game very, very replayable. What you give up is that strong sense of a directed game experience that you might have in like the Warcraft or Starcraft series. But in return, you get a lot more kind of infinite replayability. Really, when you look at the Diablo franchise, a lot of what's fun about that is you can replay the same levels or the same acts over and over, especially with buddies, and it's always different. It's always new.
I think a lot of times people looking from outside, they see, Blizzard and, this blue logo and, I don't know, I'm sure all that looks very intense, this crazy company, but to us, I think still more often than not, we feel like that garage band that somehow landed a record deal and that record blew up, but we still kind of think in a lot of ways like a garage band, like people are really listening to that album, like in a way, and it is kind of weird, right? With the BlizzCons and all that stuff that I don't know, man, these games went out and seemed to geek up a lot of people just like us, just like that garage band. And it keeps us rooted, and the games go out and sell, that's killer, right? But we would still be doing this goofy stuff. I'd be working at a bank, you could be working, well, you'd be an executive somewhere. But you know what I mean? Wherever we found ourselves in life, we'd still be tooling out on these crazy ideas and orcs and, spaceships and stuff. So that's the part that's also amazing to get to share with people, because ultimately that's what makes it all go. That's what makes it all, is the points of our passion that, really fuel all this weird stuff.
Now having people that grow up and say, hey, they played World of Warcraft and are inspired by it, maybe the same ways that we were inspired by films we saw in the 80s or something. I think that's really powerful, and I think we have a lot of responsibility now to do that well and to be good role models and to inspire kind of our audience to hopefully be that next generation after us to make awesome entertainment.